Alright, so we have ourselves a race coming up between LRock617 and Zerst.
Okie dokie.
Alright, looks like we're about to start. Oh, okay, never mind, we're just starting right now, let's go. Zerst was an early lead, given that he actually just started the game earlier. Now, the first thing that you might notice is that Zerst is playing Bart, and LRock is playing Marge. Now, these two characters are probably the best you can pick for this particular game. They have a lot in common. Actually, all the characters are pretty similar hitbox-wise. However, Bart starts a little bit to the right of the screen because he's player 3 and he has a smaller hitbox. Whereas with Marge, she picks up items faster. Now they're both going into the boss with a weapon, which is very, very good. The big thing to keep in mind here is that weapons kill bosses much faster than not having a weapon. Now there's a big difference between the Japanese version and the US version, because in the Japanese version you have way more weapons available.
Up, you ready? Go!
Alright, and we have a virtual dead heat now. This is interesting. It's kind of fun to actually look at the differences in the playstyle between the US version and Japanese version. In the Japanese version, because there are so many weapons available, it becomes a lot more about stacking enemies and holding on to your weapons for boss fights. You'll notice that Bart is actually diving around with a hammer right now. That dive is Japanese exclusive. You don't actually have that ability in the US version, and it is a very, very good ability to have. If you're playing this US style, since you don't have as many weapons available, and also there's a lot less life available, another big difference actually is that in the Japanese version, your life stacks. So if, say, Bart was to get a life up right now, he'd get an extra life. Whereas if it was the US version, he got life right now, then he would get nothing. So, the Japanese version is much more about weapon management and enemy stacking, whereas the US version is basically just survival and a lot of jumping. Okay, so Zerst is taking the lead now, but both players do have a weapon going into the boss, which is exactly what you need. Alright, Zerst's lead continues. Now you might notice that the key attack that they're doing is neutral jumping attacks. They do have a diving attack, but the really big one is the neutral jump. It's kind of similar to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in that way. There isn't a whole lot of hits done in this game. You know, you hit things, but they can kind of hit you back. But thankfully, most of the enemies don't have a whole lot of life. And yeah, the jump attack does more damage, has a better hitbox on it. That's really the way to go. And now, everyone's favorite part of any sort of beat-em-up run, the auto-scroller portion. Well, on the subject of this particular game, one thing that's kind of interesting about this game is that it came out rather early in the life of the Simpsons series. So you might notice that certain characters are acting a little bit out of character because they hadn't really established much of a character yet. They didn't have a whole lot to work with this game. So most of the bosses are kind of unrelated to the series as a whole. And to give you a reference for how early in the series this is, Bleeding Gum Murphy is still alive, and Sideshow Bob is still working with Krusty. And alright, LRock is the first to get to the boss, and this is a tricky one. You can get these guys onto the left side and loop them. If you can do that, it's a quick kill. Let's see what LRock's got. LRock's got it. Okay, now let's see Zerst. Okay. Yep, they're both doing exactly what they need to do. Good job. So yeah, it's not all just getting weapons and killing bosses as quickly as possible with weapons. There is, in fact, some good combo tech in this game. Well, there's some good loop tech in this game. There aren't any real true combos, but it's certainly developed over time. There is, of course, Mo Sizlak with his beautiful black hair. Bleeding Gums Murphy. Everyone loves that character. All right, Zerst making a comeback. Yep, Zerst now with something of a comfortable lead. Let's see if this can stick. There's still a lot of game left. As you can see in this particular game, Waylon Smithers hadn't exactly developed his character yet, so they're just having this kind of a generic evil henchman in this. He would, of course, develop into a slightly different character over time. So LRock had a bit of trouble with the Yeti down there, but they seem to be around the same spot now. Alright, they have the broom, it is essential. Alright, so this boss has a decent amount of RNG to it, actually. There are going to be boulders falling. The amount of time it takes to complete this is really going to be dependent on how much luck they get with these boulders. so far, Zerst has been a little bit more fortunate with those boulders, and that's going to be all the difference.
How's my hair?
So yeah, important thing to note about this game, although it is a beat 'em up, there are no super joys. So that's adds to the importance of just doing jump attacks to avoid taking damage. Nice donut stacking with those stars. There's also no throwing in this game, so stacking enemies in this is really all footsie based. Usually when you're trying to stack and beat them up, you'll try to hit enemies into each other or throw them or something. But in this, since most of them, you know, comes down to just getting them one shot with a weapon, it's really a big footsies game. This particular boss, so this is one of the few that you can't really take a weapon into it. So this is kind of the old school US method still of just kind of jump attack spamming as much as humanly possible. Pretty basic boss. And he also has like long animations between phases that he's invincible during, so it looks like he's taking damage, but he actually isn't. You just have to like wait. There we go. Okay, let's see how fast Zerst can slap. Yeah, pretty fast. Alright, let's see what you got, LRock. Yeah. Now it looks like Zerst slaps a little bit faster. Zerst making very effective use of the Japanese exclusive hammer dive. But LRock certainly has his dive game on point as well. Having a bit of trouble with that particular stream though.
Whoa, look out, world! LRock opting to switch over to the broom. Both the broom and the hammer are sufficient for what needs to be done. Let's see, someone's asking if Marge is top tier. Marge is top tier, but the differences between the characters in this game are very, very minor, but significant enough for speedrun. If I can go a bit more into detail here. So, Marge is probably the most popular speedrun character, but as people have developed the tech, they found that Bart is rather... I mean, they all have the same... Like, all the Simpsons have the same hitboxes and damage values. What makes Marge good is that she can pick up things really quickly. Now, what makes Bart good is he starts a little further to the right of the screen. He's also short in stature. His weakness, though, is that he picks up things slowly. But given his short stature and starting like more to the right of the screen, those two things can add up over a speedrun.
It's like very minor time savings between the two, but yeah, it comes out to where it's hard to say which of the two is truly faster. And as Zerst goes into the final fight, we finally get to actually take on Simpsons characters. First starting off with Smithers. Now, when we talked about how Marge picks up things faster, so Smithers can actually like drop life, and Marge can pick it all up, whereas Bart can only pick up like half of them because there's enough time. Okay, so this is the make or break point of the run. You can actually stun lock Mr. Burns here, but it's rather tricky. So, let's see if Zerst can set it up. Basically, it's going to go in the corner and then just start mashing attack, but you have to do it rhythmically. So, there's still there's an opportunity here for LRock to catch up if Zerst isn't able to get the infinite. Okay, so he's in the phase now for the infinite. Let's see what we got. Oh, looks like Burns is being a jerk. Okay, LRock is going for the infinite, whereas Zerst is taking the more traditional strat. Okay, Mort. Okay, he's locked in there. This is gonna be close. This is close. Up. Oh. Oh. Looks like Zerst got it. Still, good job to LRock for getting stressed. Alright, good runs all around, LRock and Zerst. Very impressive display. And yes, double 1cc. Very good job, everyone. If you haven't had the opportunity to play the Japanese version of The Simpsons, I'd highly recommend it. It is much more complete of a game. There is some good speed strats to it. There's good enemy stacking. If you take weapons into bosses, they're a lot more manageable. To be frank, it's just a lot better than the US version, which pretty much just comes down to survival and doing jump attacks over and over again. But this version is actually very legit at the speedrun. And alright, everyone please stay tuned for more arcade goodness.